Sure.
Sasha, really
Yes,
lovely
ma'am.
to meet you, and thanks for agreeing to do this interview because you've only just joined the group. And I loved your
Mhm,
enthusiasm straight out the bat. You were, yeah, I'll do an
mhm.
interview. It'd be lovely to introduce myself. It was just an
Yeah.
absolute pleasure to get that participation and that sense of
Yeah.
commitment, really, right from the beginning. I mean, you haven't been in it, so you may change your mind as it goes along, but it's fantastic way to start. And you said when you were writing the questions that you're all about the martial arts and you've been doing it
Mhm,
for well, a long time by the sounds of it. So
mhm.
tell us about that. Tell us about your work, and it's probably a lot more than your work, your way of life, I imagine.
Okay, absolutely. Real quick, my web page and everything says Sasha Mika. I started it 4 years ago, and it was for my dogs because I didn't think I had anything interesting that anybody'd want to see on Facebook. So Sasha is my sweet little dog, and Mika's my other sweet little dog. So my name is Catherine Taylor.
All
And
right.
so that way you know my name. I don't want to start all over and do a new page. So once you get to know me, you know my name's Catherine.
Right.
Um, Martial arts. I teach Taekwondo. I started when I was 16. Me and my best friend had nothing to do one summer, walking from my house to her house. Stopped at a martial arts place. There was a Korean instructor, could not understand half of what he was saying, except for three women's class. So I drugged my sister, my best friend. We went to class, and I loved it. I was in the group just working on the basic punches, and there was a group over here doing these just crazy kicks. And I was like, I want to be in that group. How do you be a black belt, you know? So 3 years later, I got my first black belt. Here it is, 34, working on 35 years later. I'm an eighth degree black belt. I'm a national champion, world Hamadong champion. I've accomplished more than I ever imagined walking in that front door for the first time. And so now I think a lot of my goals are trying to influence the other girls and guys in my school that you have no idea what you can accomplish yet, but you just need to get on the road.
Oh, that is such a brilliant outlook to have, and one that has come from somebody that has walked the walk to get involved in
Mm,
Taekwondo at the age of 16,
mhm,
and then uh, to accomplish your first black belt 3 years later. My goodness, it sounds like such a passion of yours,
mhm, mhm,
and what everything that you're saying about well, just to get involved. You're saying, what is it about
mhm.
the sport in particular? Because there's other, what I suppose you said, you've given your story how you got involved in it, but what is it about Taekwondo in particular? Because there are quite a few martial arts, aren't there, that you
Right.
could have chosen? I mean, I know that that was a free class, but what is it that particularly kept you hooked in with the martial arts, with Taekwondo?
Well, the first thing was I really liked competition. I was just a very competitive person growing up, and so there were tournaments I could go to, and I was very successful early on. And then, in addition to competing, that meant that you get to travel. So I got to get out of Oklahoma, which was like a bonus. And got to do a lot of traveling with that. And so for me, it's something I could do. It's something I had a group of people that would train me. So like, there's certain things that one of them was I had to hold a board and break it myself. Oh my God, that was so hard to do, to sit there and mentally decide to hit your hand on this board to break it. And I had the mentors that helped me to be able to learn all the ins and outs and how you need to practice here. You need to increase your strength, speed here. And it's just turned into an incredible family. That's what this group is it's a great family. And I've got friends all over the world now that are just amazing people, and I love them dearly.
So you've been doing it around 40 years, and you said in
Mhm.
particular with the board. I mean, I don't know if there's anything when you're learning a discipline like that that is kept private for you. I don't know about the mindset, but it must take one heck of a mindset to be an eighth degree martial art.
Yeah.
Is that what you said? Eighth degree
Martial artist.
martial
Hmm.
arts. Did you say so?
Hmm.
When you say that, does that mean that you get your first black belt and then you get another one? Is that what that means? That you've got like eight black belts? Is that right?
I do. I do.
Right. Because I
I
mean,
do.
I'm a novice. I don't know anything about. Well, I say that I did go
Yeah.
to my beginners Taekwondo when I was about 12, and I think I
Oh,
with
congratulations.
well, like I didn't make it past that. I can remember I was like with a load of little boys. So I didn't, there is something to be said about the environment and the family that you said it feels like a family,
Mhm.
the whole community of what you've done and what you have been doing for a long time, which is really
Yeah.
important. But I can remember really enjoying the small amount that I did do, which was really minute. But tell us a little bit more about, well, I just can't help but hone in, because you
Mhm.
see it on the TV all the time, and I bet everybody asks you. Um, when you do something like break a board, so how much of that is, I know there must be a lot of technique to that, but on the TV, when you're watching the films, they kind of talk about when you see people, I know it gets fictionalized, but people talk about mindset and they talk about kind of getting yourself, you mentioned it a little bit. So how much do you have to prepare yourself mentally to do something? That's one example. I'm sure there's an example
Mhm.
with every single move that you do. But how much of it,
Mhm.
once you've got the physical competence, what is it about the mindset that you have to, could you give us a little kind of window into what kind of things you have to do, or and how much of that is taught and how much of that is needs to come from yourself and you have to figure out for yourself?
Well, for me, I think it's part of what we do here. That's part of confidence is key. It's one of those things. If you don't have it, it means everything. But once you have it, it's like no big deal. So for us, teaching confidence and the different things you get to accomplish that gives you confidence. So I had, the Achilles heel was the inside knife handbrake for me. It just, oh man, it was just really hard for me to do. I had a time where, God, I had a time where I couldn't break it. I could not break the board. Every single black belt around me was breaking it. I was like, oh my God. So we went back, I did some more training, and the mental part of it is you have to decide you're just going to do it. And I don't know how else to put that. Is I sit there and I look at it, the board, and it's like, okay, you just hit that thing as hard as you can. and then that's, I don't know, it's like making a decision. You have to make a decision that you're going to go forward. Make a decision that you're going to commit yourself to whatever it is you're going to do. Um, and I don't know. That's I see it in my students' eyes now when they're not there yet. They haven't made that decision. You can see the unconfidence and not sureness on their eyes. Whereas when the ones that are like, I'm going to break this. I had this one girl. I was so proud of her. I was giving this guy a hard time. Is having these girls break as many boards as guys, and I'm like, come on. Well, when I was having that conversation with him, she turned around and broke every last one of them. I was like, never mind. I'm, I'm just going to shut my mouth.
I
So
think it sounds
it's a decision.
right. It's a decision, presumably, when you wouldn't put somebody in that position if they weren't physically ready, and as a teacher, if you didn't
No.
know they were physically ready. So it's a decision that comes after you've taught them to be in a position where you know they are physically ready, presumably.
Right, right. And that's part of their growth too, is we know you can break this board. You just have to, decide. And sometimes they're not successful at that time, but they come back to it. That was for me. I had times I wasn't successful, but you've got this group of people that help you so that it's like, come on, you can do this, you can do this, and you come back to it, you achieve it, you achieve whatever the goal is, and then that's where that real confidence starts growing, that whatever I set out to do, I know I can do it. And so that's what I love about what I do the most, I think, in
I
addition to travel.
Well, the travel, I mean, I love the travel. I can see why you'd be well into the travel. Where have you been? Where has it taken you?
Well, first it took me all over United States, and that was fantastic because I had only lived in Oklahoma and California for a time, and then I got to go to Korea. Taekwondo is out of Korea, so we got to go spend several summers there, a couple weeks. We would do training in addition to getting to see all the sites. Been to
What is,
China, which was really interesting.
go there.
Yeah, yeah, and it was right around the time when they were doing the Olympics there in Beijing.
Hmm.
And then also I was on a team that went to Mexico. Um,
That sounds fantastic. And so, what is the culture of, did you say it originated in Korea?
mhm. Yes, ma'am.
Right. So
Yep.
what, from like when? Like 19th century? Is it a lot older than that? Is it a really, does it date back to, I don't know, 15th century or the 14th? I don't know. Tell us a bit about the history of Taekwondo.
Okay, well, my understanding is that dates back over 2,000 years. It has evolved. There's different, man, I just did a class on this.
Oh,
It
don't
has
worry.
evolved. It has evolved, and there's different names for what they called the Taekwondo uh, practitioner. Whereas now, here and with like the 1950s and the 1970s is what is more like what people see today when they go to their first Taekwondo class, like you did. The training and stuff that we go to, it's Olympic sport, and they just I don't know, they're really a great people. I love the Koreans. They are just amazing. They're so polite, and so I don't know, I got distracted in the question,
That's
but
okay. So you did it. Have you been there a few times to Korea?
yes, yes.
Right. And so what were the tournaments? Is that where so do you still compete, Catherine?
I do. I just went to World Hamadong Championships in 2019. Got a silver medal in breaking, of all things. Is that hilarious or what?
In what? In breaking? Are you talking about
Board breaking.
oh
It
my
was with my foot
goodness.
though. It was my foot. It was like not my hand, no. Um,
Well,
and then
either.
we hope that after uh all the COVID stuff that they're going to have the Hamadong again this next summer, and we'll go back this summer and take a group that's really excited to go.
The
So
Hamadong. So where did you say that? Where's that?
they held that at Pyeongchang, and that is where they did some of the Winter Olympics.
Okay.
Um, yeah, it's a cute little, just tiny little town. They've got this giant gymnasium. They've got all these, I guess they do like, I don't know what they do there, but it's just the cutest little tiny town, great food, and a lot to see. So,
It must
um,
be a wonderful way to live. I love that you said you made that commitment at 16, really. And I love that we haven't been talking
mm,
very long, but you've mentioned confidence and commitment. And that seems to run as a very strong foundation, you're saying, behind what then manifests as doing your taekwondo. It's gaining that
sure.
confidence to know that you can do whatever you do because you're a champion. You said you're a champion
Hmm.
in your area, in your field. And would you say, how long do you think that you could continue competing? I mean, is that something you could just go on and on and on doing? How are you finding as you get older? How are you finding? Presumably, you
Yeah,
compete in your
right.
group. But how are you finding those kind of changes, or you're not particularly experiencing any changes?
Oh no, absolutely. Oh my goodness. Yeah. In the 80s and 90s, I had all the energy in the world. Sparring was the fun thing to do. As I got older, I got in my 30s and 40s. Those 22-year-old girls kick really hard. So I've evolved into doing more of the forms, which is the set pattern of moves that you do. And so that's something that, as you know, as you get older in martial arts, you do forms and you can do board breaking depending on, you know, your how you are. But yeah, I've been able to stay committed and be able to stay into competitions, and that really keeps you from getting um bored or just kind of like, man, I've done like 50 million round kicks. I'm so bored. Now, what do you do to excite yourself? What's next? And so this type of tournament, the Hamadong, which all it means is festival.
And so, did you say
This
that's in Korea?
Yeah, it's in
Yeah.
Korea.
Mhm.
This festival in Korea um has so many different things that, you know, I'm in my 50s now, that I can participate in. I can compete with other ladies that are my same age, you know, around the same rank. And and then you still got the young kids get to do their stuff. So
Mhm.
uh so yeah, this is they're the Taekwondo guys that got this started and how they're continuing this were really smart because they wanted to make this where Taekwondo could be for your entire life. It's
Yeah.
not just a section of your life. And I'm really embracing that. And I'm looking at it as, okay, so yeah, this is hard deciding you can't spar. And, you know, this girl you just trained, you know, you can't win fighting her now. What do you do? Well, I've got to set an example for her when she gets to that age. What's she going to do? I don't want her to give up and quit. So
No.
it's learning how to segue into that next branch of your life, you know?
That's what I'm fascinated by, because it was interesting to get the clarity on what happens, because absolutely, as we get older, it would be to be in complete denial that your body doesn't change at all would be ridiculous. But
Yeah.
equally, there are so many narratives about how we, as whether you're whatever gender you are, however you define yourself, that your body changes, whatever, as I said, whatever your gender is, your body still changes as you get older, and you've got to also be respectful and get that balance and not be in denial
Yeah.
that certain changes do occur. So it's fascinating to hear that, as you said, a strong motivation for you as well is that sense of, well, I'm now going to impart what I know, and I want to be a role model and an
Mhm.
example for those that are coming through. And I also love that Taekwondo is for a lifetime, because as
Yeah.
someone that doesn't really know that much about Taekwondo, I would have assumed that well, it's not dissimilar to other sports, that people would not compete. So I think it's fantastic that I
Yeah.
would have assumed that maybe you get to a certain age and you might teach, or you might speak, you might be a speaker, but that the
Yeah.
competition side might not exist for you. So I think it's wonderful that it still does,
Yeah.
because
Yeah. Me too.
competition, especially, you said that you are pretty competitive, and where does that go? You needed an outlet for that. That obviously got you
Mhm.
to the position that you're in, being an eighth degree master. I think it sounds really wonderful. I noticed when you joined the group that you also said you'd started working on a song. So let's
Yeah.
hear about your kind of create. Well, I think
Okay.
that's why I called it the independent creators, because I think
Yeah.
we all have creativity regardless of how it manifests. So in Taekwondo, it will manifest because you'll be, presumably, when you're competing, you'll be having to literally think on your
Yes.
feet and be creating different things all the time. So
Yeah.
that's why that was very important to me, that I think we all have creativity in us, and to kind of extend it outwards. But I am curious to know, yeah, what
Yeah.
else do you do then? Tell us about this song you said you're writing.
Well, over the last couple years, probably like a lot of the other people, I had a lot of extra time. And so there was I had a for me, music, I work out to music, I teach class to music. Music is just part of my life. And so I was going back to when music really influenced me, and so I wanted to write a song about the how you feel when you hear that first song or you hear that and you're just like, wow, that's the coolest thing ever. And so I literally wrote a poem about it. And it's like, for example, sixth grade, in it was a mid-high, I don't know what they called it back then. Went downstairs, they had those giant boom boxes, you know, and they
Yeah.
were playing Joan Jett, I Love Rock and Roll. And I was
Oh,
just getting goosebumps like crazy. Like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever.
that
And I
is.
loved it. So now that I've had time to reflect and look on it, and so I wrote a poem about it, and now it's a matter of figuring out, I want that to be a song that rocks like that, something that's really just, everybody can get into, hopefully people can relate to. And um, I had a couple little jingles worked out, and I am normally an organized person. I cannot find it, so I'm starting all over. So anyway, your influence would be amazing. I mean, I listened to your album like just over and over again for the last 2 days, and just like,
Oh, thank
wow.
you.
I love
Oh,
your music. It's so empowering.
oh,
And
thank you very
would
much.
that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for, so how do you write a song? What is it that makes a song really kick? What is the thing that gives you the chill bumps that goes with what my poem was? And so that's where I'm at. I'm getting a guitar and a keyboard here in the next couple of days, and I'm going to get back at it. And
That
I
sounds
played
fantastic.
violin when I was little and that kind
Oh,
of
you
stuff.
did?
So
All right, so you have
yeah.
music. Music is a big part of your life anyway. And so it sounds like you're musical as well if you played the violin. But also,
Mhm.
what I thought was fascinating is that you said you teach with music. You teach Taekwondo with music. So what are
Oh
you?
yeah.
What is it? What do you play? What do you put on? I'm quite surprised by that. I don't know why, but I just kind of thought, yeah. So what is it that you? Because I suppose because I would have thought maybe it might be a bit distraction. Because when I think of Taekwondo, I think about how focused. So what is it that you? What part of Taekwondo do you teach with? What part of the lesson do you teach with music? And what are your choices? What's your Taekwondo playlist?
Yeah, well, I'm kind of limited to Pandora, but I have a bunch of different stuff I play. The anything that's got real upbeat for whenever we're working out hard and kicking. What is my playlist?
I'm
They
curious.
like Daft Punk. The kids here like Daft Punk, so I'll play some Daft Punk music.
Right.
I'm old school. I want to work out to some Duran Duran music. Um, then we also play for the Tiny Tigers. We'll play music like uh, kids versions of songs, and
Okay.
so it'll be in the background. And then whenever we get to a part that's exciting, we need to increase their energy. Then
Hmm.
you want to have that loud energy song.
Uh-huh.
If it's something that's slow, then you want something that's, this is the time to rest, reflect, deep breaths, that
Okay.
kind of
So,
stuff. And
so
so I'm over there just playing with the speaker, hitting music that I love, and that ink gets them, excited and having fun and stuff like that.
yeah, so that kind of goes with not dissimilar to an aerobics or to, well, aerobics is,
Yes.
yeah, in that you'll choose music by the sounds of it, not when they would be competing together. It's when they're warming up or when you're trying to raise their cardio or when they're warming down. Is that what you're saying?
Sure. Yeah. I'll leave it on the whole time. The
I
only
do.
time I turn it off is if my instructor needs to talk, I'll turn it down.
Okay, well, I think that's
Just
fantastic.
no, I like it on all the time. I feel like there should be like this little music behind, in the movies, how they have music playing all the time. I feel like
Yeah.
that should be going all the time. Music going all the time.
I love it. I
It
love
sets
that
the mood.
yeah, that it's a facilitator. It can be a great facilitator for a release of expression and it does all sorts of things. I love the combination. It's just a bit of a surprise when I think of like it's a I guess it's a again an assumption when I think of the discipline and the focus of Taekwondo, and if I see it on the Olympic sports or something, I don't hear any music in the background. So I think it's a lovely surprise to hear that
Mm,
for you in
yeah.
your classes, you find it complements and it can be a
Yeah.
facilitator for and not be a distraction in any way, shape, or form. In fact, the reverse is what you're saying. That relationship between yeah, music and
Mm,
self-expression is
mm,
always there. And I'm very curious. If we go back to what you started with, which because of what you said you've accomplished, which is well, you didn't volunteer it. I was asking you that you are an 8th degree master. I
mhm.
know I don't have to say any more, but I am fascinated. I'm just wondering what more you could, for anybody that's thinking, I know this is a group for creatives, but for anybody that's thinking, oh, I wonder if I can do this, or or I wonder if I've got what it takes, or doubting themselves. What would you
Mhm.
say to people? Because in creative, there can be lots of circumstantial
Yeah,
things that
yeah,
can
yeah.
get in, that can kind of interfere. What would you say to people? What would your tips on commitment and going for something, and must be combined with discipline though, right? I mean, you've got to have some, otherwise
Absolutely.
you can't get anywhere.
Absolutely. I would say if you're anxious or nervous, do like I did. Bring your best friend and somebody with you, um, and set, small goals, tiny steps. Just do one thing at a time. I have people that want to sit there and get in shape first before they come to class. I'm like, oh no, honey, we'll get in shape. Come on, and we'll do it at a good level. We won't, work you out too hard. That's not what this is about. And so, yeah, it's like taking on something. You want, when you take on it, you got to. If it's overwhelming, just do little things at a time. Take a deep
Mm,
breath, look back at, things you've accomplished, and I'm all about writing things down. I love how you do stuff where you're supposed to write down, what are you gonna do personal, what's business, and all that stuff. Write down little things that you're worried about or want to accomplish, and then talk to the instructor, and then make a just a little plan, work that out. It may not turn out exactly how you planned it, but you'll be farther along. Like I was saying, you're down the road, you're on the journey. And
mm.
no, this is great stuff. And being fit is also super healthy. And that's one of the things I've found with Taekwondo. It's helped me is I've had different things that I got sick for whatever reason, and because I had exercise and exercise is a part of my life, I recovered so much faster. So
Right.
I definitely recommend something for everybody to have their thing they do to exercise, make themselves healthy, makes you feel better, that kind of stuff.
Well, that's fantastic advice for people that are kind of might be struggling, or it's that commitment, and it's how that commitment is broken down into daily. And it's interesting you mentioned the journaling as well, writing things down.
Yeah.
So writing down what isn't working, I think, by the sounds of it, or something that you might be
Yeah.
struggling with, and then taking that to your mentor and taking that to your teacher. So you did quite a bit of that, did you, in your process of accomplishing all that you've
Oh my
accomplished?
gosh. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I was like, I can't do that kick, 7M. What do I do? And he's like, yeah, it's horrible. All right, well, we'll start working on it. So
Right.
absolutely. My instructor, he's incredibly amazing. And I've had troubles from everywhere, talking in front of people. He would give me tips on how to talk in front of people. He made a joke because I wouldn't end a conversation or end a presentation. I didn't know how. And he's like, just tell them there's cookies in the back and then you're done. So the key is, find a mentor or someone that you can really relate with, that will give you honest feedback and help you, improve whatever it is you're needing to improve. Because I'm very fortunate. I feel very lucky that I came across who I did when I did.
Yeah, everybody needs support and a good mentor in their process of trying to actualize. It's never something that happens in isolation. It's never something
No.
that anybody does on their own. We all need, and as you said, the right mentor as well. It's all very easy to think, right, to place, you can place too much trust in somebody else and might not do so. It's good to be
Right.
rigorous and to find the right person for you. There's not a
Right.
right and wrong. It's more about the right person for you, isn't it? But we do all need a mentor, and all need that good advice, and to have support to help us pursue our dreams. And these dreams become plans, and they become goals, and
Mhm.
they're not
Yeah.
so dreamy because it's all kind of visioned, and then it's broken down into small steps and realistic steps, isn't it? That sounds really fascinating. And I love the reality of the story that you told about the board right at the beginning, that in
Yeah.
the end, what it was, it's that I've talked about it in other interviews actually, it's that tenacity where after everything else, after you've got everything else, it's that determination where you make that decision actually when you are ready. The extra bit is that tenacity and that commitment where you say, right, I'm actually going to do this. This is going to happen. And in that,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, because you know you're ready. So I love that you speak about all that. So what is next for you, Catherine? So you're going to continue. What kind of competitions have you got coming up, and what's happening with your studio where you
With our
teach?
studio.
And yeah, and your
Well, the next thing is we're doing an instructor seminar, and we're training the black belts so that they can be teachers, open up more classes so that we're open 7 days a week, and inspire them so that they can do, they can teach a class. They know all this stuff now. They just got to go out there and do it. And the next thing for me, what is the next? I guess the next thing is the Hamadong in 2023.
Well, they both sound like the
Yeah,
next thing for you. It's not just that. I meant the next, what is coming up for you? So the
yeah.
teaching is equally, I'm sure, is no doubt as equally as important and valuable for you. I'm just quite curious, actually, with Taekwondo, is there a spiritual side to that? Because with martial arts, sometimes there's when I say spiritual, but is there a kind of, do you have any coaching in terms of like with Tai Chi, for example, there is, and with yoga there is, but also with some of the judo there is. Is there with Taekwondo? Is there like a written side to that you have to learn in terms of ethos and core values and spirituality? I'm curious.
There is a lot with the values of, perseverance, self-control, those types of things, basic virtues that are important to yourself and also for the group that's around you. And so that is one of the things that we share, and people have it at different levels or different stages in their life. So as far as just saying spiritual, I don't know. I would say this is more of it's mental, it's physical, and it's personal, as far as your drive, like you were saying, your decision making to whatever you're going to do next. But we don't teach the spirituality part. What we do teach is the meditation part, and trying to be more than you are today.
Fantastic. So you do actually, what you teach, you have meditation classes?
We have a seminar that we teach that does meditation. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. All right. Is that something you do as well? Is that something most people do that? Okay.
I do about everything. So yeah, not everybody wants to do the meditation. It's usually the guys that like to do is as they get older.
Mm-hmm.
I have one instructor that'll do it sometimes to calm down class at the end. And they'll have everybody sit and think about what they worked on, what they learned, and visualize what they're going to do next. So we like to do a lot of the visualization, where you visualize what's it going to look like when you accomplish it? What's it going to be?
Okay, so we need to get you doing a bit more of that for your song, because I'm looking forward to hearing progress with that. I'll chat to you more about that, because that sounds wonderful. And you said you used to play the violin as well, so you've got that musicality and that you're into music, and that I love that you have it throughout your sessions. I don't know why that should be such a surprise, but it's just really.
I'm gonna have to play you next time.
Huh?
I'm gonna have to play your song next time.
Oh, feel free. Yeah, if you
Carmen Line, I love that song. Oh.
Which one?
Carmen Line.
Oh, that's a great, yeah. Well, though I say it myself, I like that message.
That song.
Yeah, it's really good for, it's a good motivator. Thank you so much, Catherine. Thank you so much for your time today. It's absolutely fascinating hearing about your work, about your life, and about your passion, which is martial art. And that's I'm humbled when I speak to anybody that is accomplished in that way. It's truly humbling in a good way, not in a kind of, it's not a fault. I'm not saying it this kind of, I don't say that lightly. I think it speaks for itself, that kind of accomplishment. And it's really fascinating and really interesting chatting to you. And thank you very, very much for your time. Yeah,
Thank
and all the best
so much.
coming up for you and your next competition. I love that. That as you get older, Taekwondo is for life.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And thank you so much for making this available. And I'm just so happy to talk to you, and look forward to talking to you again in the future soon.
Absolutely. Yeah, great. It's very inspiring speaking with you. Thank you so much. All right,
Thank you,
then.
sweetie.
All the best.
Bye-bye.
Bye.